Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, and this is, what is it, Christy? 3 in a row here? This is kind of crazy. Well, welcome back to the show for the third day in a row. Our co-host, Christy Puddick from PackYourPixieDust.com. How you doing?
Hi, I'm well. Let's see how we can handle this.
Yeah.
And I think our snark level is increasing as the days go on.
It is. And this is going to be exciting because we are going to do part 2 of a cruise that happened last fall on the Disney Magic out of New York. And welcome back to the show, Courtney, to talk about your actual cruise.
Hello, how is everyone doing?
We are doing good. You guys survived the polar vortex up there and probably wishing you were back on a ship, weren't you?
Oh, most definitely. Dreaming for warmer days.
Let's just throw this out there. The most important thing is the Frozen 2 trailer dropped this morning. Any thoughts on that there, Courtney?
I'm just so excited, and I'm very curious to see what they're going to do because they show Elsa trying to run over some big waves, and she doesn't quite make it. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Now, are you a Frozen fan, or were you a Frozen fan?
Yes.
I know there's some...
Specifically Olaf.
Olaf, huh? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Christy,
Olaf is adorable. And yes, that answers my question. I am a Frozen fan. I mean, I think it went a little Frozen nuts for a while, but overall, I am a Frozen fan, and I agree. I love Olaf. He's so cute.
See, I'm gonna take the people are gonna chastise me, and you can just deluge me on Twitter or whatever else. But I thought I didn't understand Olaf. I didn't think the story needed him. But
what?
I know.
I think I have to leave the show.
But
my son. So every time we'll listen, we have a Disney soundtrack or playlist on the phones that we listen to, and every time the song ends, the in summer song, he's like, melts. That's what snowmen do in the summer. They melt. It cracks me up. Okay. Back to the show.
So, Courtney, if you want to hang up now, you can. But I didn't mean to step on anybody's toes with Olaf. But no, it looks pretty cool. I think the animation looks amazing. So I can't wait to see where they take it. But well, we are going to talk about your trip. This is going to be part 2. So we talked in the first episode about what you guys plan to do, and let's just find out how it happened. So, Courtney, you guys flew into you live up in the Toronto area, right?
Yeah. So we flew from the Toronto International Airport to LaGuardia. To get to our hotel, we were adventurous and we have to take a bus to the subway station and then the subway to outside our hotel and then just walked over to where our hotel is. And we stayed at the Watson Hotel.
So obviously,
which is in the Hell's Kitchen area.
Okay. And obviously you didn't have 7 bags with you this time or anything like that, did you?
No, we didn't have 7 bags. We actually, because we were planning on taking the subway and it was only a 5-day cruise, it's like, okay, we're bringing laundry packets, the like Tide Pods, and we'll do a little laundry if need be, and we're just doing carry-on.
Perfect. Well, and you guys had a lot of different plans for the couple days before your cruise left there out of New York. What were some of the things that, did you actually get to do all of the things that you wanted to do, and what were some of your highlights?
There was only one thing that we didn't make it to, and that was to visit a restaurant that's in New York City that they also have one in Disney Springs. And I was hoping to get there. We never made it, and I cannot remember the name right now.
Is it Morimoto?
But, yes. Yeah, it was Morimoto. That was the only thing we didn't get to, but everything else we got to do. So the first thing we did was we visited the Museum of Natural History, which was a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time looking at the dinosaurs and some of the different extinct animals.
They didn't come alive, did they?
No, they didn't, unfortunately. And then they had an event going on that night. So they were closing, I think, a little earlier than they normally did. So because they were closing, I think we were done at 5:00. It was still daylight. So we went over to Central Park and walked around there. And then we picked up some dinner. So we went to the Shake Shack for dinner, as per my dad's suggestion, because there was this celebrity chef, I think Anthony Bourdain. He had talked about it in some of his programming before. So we visited there. And then we went to Times Square. It was really good. It was hard to kind of pick what we wanted because there was a few other little snacks that we kind of picked up along the way. We stopped at Magnolia Bakery as well. So it was, we didn't get 2 full meals because we needed to leave room for other food. So it was hard to pick what we wanted, but it was amazing.
We have that in Michigan. I'll have to try it. Have you been there, Steve?
I have actually been to Shake Shack, the one that you've been to in New York. So, yeah, it's really good burgers. So,
and their milkshakes, too, were really good.
My kids are into the Night at the Museum, so sorry about the snarky little comment about the dinosaurs coming alive. I've been seeing that a bunch lately, which takes place there. Have you watched Anthony Bourdain's stuff? He recently died, I think, about a year ago. But did you ever watch any of his travel shows?
I watched them with my dad. I didn't go watch them on my own, but if my dad was watching them, I'd pop in and sit and watch while he was watching. So
yeah, I loved his shows. It was really kind of cool to see him bring him. He always went to kind of where the common people eat in the different countries he went to. So I thought it was kind of interesting. So you went to Times Square, and we were talking a little bit before you went to the Disney store. What was that like?
It was amazing. It was quite big. I was shocked. It actually has 2 levels and an escalator, which I thought was pretty fancy for, mind you, it's New York City. And then I had found a T-shirt that says Prince Eric Fan Club on it, and then it was screen printed on, and then had a watermark of Prince Eric behind. So I was very excited about that because we had just gotten married before we went on our cruise. So this was our honeymoon cruise, and my husband's name is Eric. So I thought that was pretty ironic. So I picked that up.
That's perfect. Hey, Chrissy, have you been down to Times Square recently or ever?
Not recently, but yes, I have.
It's amazing how it's changed, I guess, over the years. So you guys also had tickets to Aladdin. Did you guys go that night, or was it the next night?
No, it was the following night.
Okay, and what was your thoughts on Aladdin?
Oh, it was absolutely amazing. I had seen it when it was in Toronto, but my husband had never seen it, so he has listened to my soundtrack of the music, so he knows all the music, so it was exciting to actually get to go see the show with him.
Mm-hmm. Have you been on the Fantasy before?
I've been on the Fantasy and the Magic.
So had you seen Aladdin on the Fantasy?
I did, and one of the things that I thought was really neat on the Fantasy is the carpet is actually an actor, where on the Broadway production, the carpet isn't a character. It doesn't play a role. So it was neat to see the carpet on the Fantasy jumping around, doing all its flips and tricks. A good way to keep the kids' attention.
Have you seen it on Broadway before, Steve?
Yeah, we've seen it in Broadway, and then we also saw it in California Adventure when it was there. And yeah, it's an amazing show. The genie kind of steals it. Yeah, the music's amazing, and just a great production. Definitely worth taking the time to see it if you're in New York.
The one thing is, I know they had just changed the genie, because the genie who had been playing for a while went to go play on Hamilton. So the genie was a little different, still amazing, but it was neat to see, because everyone puts their own little touch and spin onto the position. So
now you guys also you were talking before the show too that you guys went to the High Line. Was that a hike, or could you talk a little bit about that?
So it is a raised train track that used to, I think, have a subway line on it, but they've changed it into a park that you can walk, and I think it's 3 or 4 kilometers long. But it was just really neat to actually walk through. They have gardens along it, and you can get to see a lot of different buildings walking up and down it. There are certain parts of it where you can see where the old train tracks were, which I thought was pretty unique.
Does that run through the city, or is it on kind of like the water's edge, or where is it in relation to Manhattan?
It's actually on the west side of Manhattan, and we came out and we were very close to where the cruise terminal is.
Christine, any other questions about New York?
What was your favorite part?
Probably we did a food tour the day before we got on the cruise ship. So that was probably my favorite thing, was the food tour. And of course, the Broadway shows.
What did you guys get to do on the food tour?
So they talked about the tenements that were in New York and some of the history, we went along and sampled different foods that corresponded with some of the history. So they were talking about how New York was actually originally a Dutch colony before the British had come in. So we had been given, they're like thin little waffles, and they have like a caramel in the middle. those are a Dutch treat. So we had those, and then we walked to Chinatown, and we had some dumplings, and then we walked into Little Italy, where they served us mozzarella and like the soft fresh mozzarella and prosciutto. We had knishes I think it's called Schimmel's Knish Bakery. And then the last place we stopped was a German beer garden, and we had pretzels and German beer. So it was a lot of fun.
That's great. That sounds awesome.
Also kind of an ethnic tour from all the different kind of ethnic groups that have kind of immigrated into New York over the time, kind of taking samples of their food. That's kind of cool.
It was great because we actually did move around and get to see a lot of New York where we probably wouldn't have explored otherwise on our own. So
a good history tour of New York as well. Well, anything else that you guys did in New York before we talk about your cruise?
Yeah, we actually went to the Intrepid Air, Sea, and Space Museum, which I think this was more for my husband's interest. Not that it was all lost on me, but I was really excited. They had a Concorde out on the deck of because it's an aircraft carrier that the museum's on. Mm-hmm. So I was excited to see the Concorde. And then they also had the Enterprise shuttle, which my husband was very excited to see because he's a big Star Trek nerd. So he thought it was cool that they had specifically the Enterprise shuttle. So,
did you get to go up inside the Concorde by any chance? Could you look inside it?
No, we couldn't. I was so disappointed because that was what I was most excited about.
It is so small. It is so narrow. It's amazing. Like I'm like 5'7", and I felt like the ceiling was my head was almost touching the ceiling at times. So, but it's an amazing plane. Yeah. One quick question before we get in. How did you guys get around New York? Did you guys buy like a New York pass at all, or did you just pay as you went on the subway, or Uber did, or how did you guys get around New York?
So we took the subway or we walked, and we had you can pick up a 7-day pass that has unlimited rides, I think for $23. We didn't choose to do that one just because we had New York on both ends of our trip. It was going to be more than 7 days. So we opted just to do, I think we loaded on like $30 and used it as need be. And I think we only had like $2 left when we were done. So
good job.
For $60 US to get around New York for 4 days is better than what it would cost to take a taxi or an Uber. So.
Oh, definitely. And did you find the subway pretty easy to navigate for people who haven't been to New York before?
It was easy to navigate, but make sure you do a little bit of research on it. Don't just go and try and do it willy-nilly. And the other thing I downloaded was an offline New York subway map, so I could look at the map and follow along with the stops and make sure we were headed in the right direction. And I didn't need my data to make sure we were going in the right way. If you're going to go to New York, make sure you download your subway map and plan your route ahead of time. But with a little bit of planning and effort, it was easy.
So just a magical time in New York for the two of you on your honeymoon. And then the cruise comes. How did you guys get down how was it getting to the cruise port that day in New York?
We actually, there was some issue of a bomb threat near the CNN building that was not too far from where our hotel was. So there's police everywhere. When we had got back from our hotel, because we had gone to the High Line in the morning, we had left at like 8 o'clock and went and did that for an hour. So when we got back to our hotel, it was a little crazy and hectic. So we just grabbed our bags we had checked out and we had left them with the front desk. So we picked up our bags, and thankful that we picked a hotel near the cruise terminal. So we ended up walking because the roads were a little packed with police cars and it was a little hectic. So we walked over to the cruise terminal. And then once we arrived, we didn't give our bags to porters just because we only had a backpack and a carry-on each. So we just walked into the cruise terminal, and it took us about half an hour to go from the curb into the ship.
Great.
And then we went and had lunch.
The show before this is going to be on Alaska, and Jen was talking, it was a little confusing up at Canada Place, but no problems there was no real confusion as far as lines and where to go and whatnot getting on board in New York?
No, they had, Disney Cruise Line had their Disney Cruise Line signs outside the building, so giving directions for people who are departing or for the people coming in. So we just had to go up a set of elevators to check in, or was it escalators? I don't know. We had to go upstairs to the second level of the building and got checked in.
Perfect. So you guys start off with lunch. Are you guys cabanas, or do you like the sit-down restaurant? What did you guys do for that?
We normally would do cabanas, but we had our luggage because we had 4 pieces of luggage with us because we had our bags and stuff. We just went and had pizza on the deck and we're wandering around the ship. Eric had never been on the Magic. This was his first time on the Magic, so we kind of wandered around and saw some of the different stuff. He was excited to see the Aqua Dunk. To my dismay, I'd done it before and it was a little scary. So
he
was excited about it. So.
Did you guys do it? We'll just talk about it now.
He did it, and he begged and pleaded for me to go and do it, and I got up there, and I got inside, and I chickened out. I think it bothers me most just because I'm not strapped in to anything, unlike a roller coaster where you're secured in tightly. So I chickened out, but oh well.
Christy, have you done it?
No.
What? I love the aqueduct. My kids love the aqueduct. And luckily, my wife loves it too. Man, that's like my favorite thing to do on the Magic.
But I don't object to other people doing it. So, like, we don't have to do everything as a family together. So we're in that camp. So
even one time at Blizzard Beach, I think I was up at I think it's Blizzard Beach has Summit Plummet, and I got to the top of it and I started looking down and like, nope, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, so, I don't think I wouldn't even have walked up to it.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good with most rides and roller coasters, Universal, no problem, but that just really freaks me out. So
I think the thing that gets a lot of people too, and I love it, and I probably shouldn't give this away, but they do like a little Huey, Louie, and Dewey do a little countdown when you're in there, and they go like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bombs away, or I think they say something like bombs away, and you're thinking that the floor is going to drop, and it doesn't. It hesitates for like a second or so, and so it like totally like heightens the anticipation, and then all of a sudden it drops and you go, and it's like, yeah. Anyways.
So take this moment, Steve, and explain the difference between the Aqua Dunk and the Aqua Duck.
Well, I will be able to do that a little bit better next month since I've never been on the Aqua Duck. But the Aqua Dunk, is only on the Magic. It wasn't originally on the Magic. When they reimagined the Magic, they put it on board. And it's basically a tube that you get into, like Courtney's talking about, and you stand there and they do a little countdown and the floor drops out and then you fall. You do kind of a free fall. It feels like you're falling straight down.
Terrifying.
But if you look at it, you're at a pretty good angle. But it does feel like you're falling straight down. So you kind of lose your stomach for like a second or two, and then you kind of loop around quick on a water slide and come to a stop. It's a pretty quick ride. But then the Aqua Duck is more like a roller coaster.
If anyone has been to Typhoon Lagoon and they have the Crush and Gushers with like, I think there's 3 slides that's coconut, pineapple, and banana, it's really similar to that.
Okay.
For all our Disney World goers.
Perfect. And my kids are totally excited about it. And you can go 2 people at a time, right? You're like on a little slide or something, or Yeah,
but isn't it easier? So Courtney, you've done both. No, I haven't done it. I don't do water things. I mean, I go in the water.
You sit by the water.
I sit by the water. I look at the water. I play in the water. But I thought it was an easier one.
The roller coaster one? The one on the Fantasy and the Dream is a heck of a lot easier. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, but Steve, weren't you trying to say it's the other way?
No. The Aqua Duck, the one on the Magic, is the one that's a free fall, and then the Aqua Dunk is more like but you can go 2 people at a time, I think, on that, right?
Yeah.
We are quickly going sideways on this show.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna have fun editing that.
No. This is good. We haven't talked about it really before. Anything else, Courtney, on those 2 that you want to throw in there quick?
No, I think that's everything about the water slide stuff.
Well, this is your guys' honeymoon. Did you guys let them know in advance that it was your honeymoon?
No, we didn't. I wasn't too concerned about it. I was just more excited to get on the cruise ship. I had picked up off of Etsy cruise magnets, so we got a wedding magnet for our door to decorate with. So that was the only thing, but we didn't inform the cruise line about it. No.
Sometimes they do a little extra magic if you do that, but I'm sure they picked up on it anyways. So what kind of cabin did you guys book this time, and what do you guys normally like to stay in?
This was our first time to book a balcony, and we booked one at the aft of the ship, so it was a really big balcony. The only reason why I would possibly consider booking a different one the next time. It wasn't a glass wall balcony, it was a solid white wall. So because I'm short, when I sit down, all I see is the wall and the railing because I can't see over it. So that would be, if you need space and you don't want to, just sit and enjoy the view. If you have little kids who want to sit and play out there, the aft balconies are great because they're a lot bigger than the regular balconies. But yeah, I was sad that I couldn't see over the balcony unless I was standing right at it and looking over it. So,
did you try pushing your chair back towards the window?
We did go a little further back, but it probably comes up to my chest. So by the time I sit down, it's
right.
I couldn't see over it. So, but you have to learn. It was nice to have the big balcony, but next time it'll probably be a balcony just along the side of the ship, not at the aft. So.
Well, let's go over the itinerary of the cruise again. This one goes down to Bermuda. It's a 5-day cruise. What were the days planned for this cruise, Courtney?
So first day was we were leaving New York City. Then the second day was at sea, and then we had 2 days in Bermuda, and then we had another sea day, and then back to New York.
Perfect. And so let's talk about the ship first, I guess, since we talked about your room. What do you guys have planned food-wise? Did you book Palo this time, or did you plan on just eating in the restaurants?
We booked Palo. I had never been to Palo. We had been to Remy on our last cruise, so I figure since the Magic only has Palo, we might as well go try it, and it was really good. And it was a Halloween on the High Seas cruise, so there was a whole bunch of little Halloween decorations sprinkled throughout the cruise.
What night did you book Palo?
It was either the last night or it was near the end of the cruise, because just in case we had Animator's Palette that night, because I have to go to Animator's Palette, can't miss that. Then I had enough time to cancel it because it was at the tail end of the cruise.
That's perfect. So you're going to get the 3 restaurants for sure, and then you had Palo at the end. Well, why Animator's Palette? What makes that your favorite?
I hated Animator's Palette on the Fantasy because it didn't have Mickey Mouse and it didn't have all the paintings, and I didn't really care for Crush. But the one on the Magic has Mickey Mouse and it has all the paintings that come to life. And if anyone really likes watching the Happily Ever After show in Disney World, this is your cruise version at Animator's Palette of Happily Ever After.
Well, this is a brutally honest show. First, I trounced on poor Olaf, and you're taking Crush out. So what's Christy going to stomp on?
Well, I'm sorry. If I want to talk to Crush, I'll go visit him at Epcot. I like seeing Mickey over Crush, so we'll leave it at that.
No, it's perfect, Courtney. I love it. So, so also you got to go to Rapunzel's Royal Table. What did you think of that?
It was really cool. The only thing I really didn't like about it was I found it was so hard to talk. We were seated with 2 other couples, and it was really hard to talk with them because of the music and stuff. Mm-hmm. Which I don't remember it ever being so loud in the restaurants on previous cruises, but this cruise just seemed so loud, and I felt like I had a hard time hearing everyone. So that was my only complaint. But I love the theming. I love the food. So it was good.
Well, let's talk about, so you guys are traveling, just you and your husband. Did you guys have early or later seating? And then obviously they set you with 2 other couples. How did that all work out?
It worked out really well sitting with our other couples. It was a late seating. I've had the late seating every cruise we've been on. I'm kind of getting to the point where I want to try the early seating, because then when Pirate Night comes along and they have that like Pirate Night buffet, I don't ever want to go anywhere near it because I'm still pretty full from dinner. Just going back to our debark day, if anyone does sail out of New York, it was pretty windy on the top deck because it was October, but we went down to the gym, and the gym on the Magic has nice big windows, so we watched sailing by the Statue of Liberty out of the gym, and it was quiet and it was warm.
That's a good idea.
Food for thought if anyone is interested in sailing past the Statue of Liberty and not being freezing cold.
That's definitely a good tip with those giant windows up there. And just seeing the skyline, too, as you sail by. That must have been pretty magical. Yeah.
And it was, like I said, we had been up on, I think it was on deck 10, and it was just so crowded and busy. And then we just had gone down into the gym, and there's no one there, and it was quiet, and it was warm. So I was pleasantly surprised with that.
How did it work with the other couples? I think Disney does a really good job of putting people together that have similar either backgrounds or ages or whatnot. Did you kind of find the same thing there?
Yeah, it was two other younger couples. I think one was married and the other one wasn't, but all in the same age group. So like 20 to 30. So we had a good time.
Perfect.
Disney is actually really good at that, and they are the only cruise line that does that.
Really?
That assigns seats based on the people that you're with.
I was listening to a cruise radio podcast, and they had been reviewing a MSC Seaside, and the couple that was talking about their cruise said every night they sat alone, where if they're on Princess, they're given the option to be seated with other people, where MSC didn't give them that choice. So.
Yeah, so you could actually be seated with other people, I guess not on MSC, but on other cruise lines. But they aren't going to pick and choose the people to put you with like Disney does. So Disney...
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure.
It can be kind of intimidating at first, depending upon what your nature is. My wife's she's not as outgoing as I am. I'll talk to just about anybody, but... But yeah, it really made our cruise the one that we did, just the two of us on the Wonder. So it was a lot of fun, and not just without the kids, even with the kids when we've sat with other couples, it's worked out well too. So it seems like they try to find groups that are kind of similar. So
I have a client that just did the San Juan Southern Caribbean cruise, and she traveled as a single this trip. And she was sat with 3 other singles for dinner. She said it was fantastic.
Well, that's good. It would probably, I don't know how they'd see you if you're single, but it would be good for socialization, get to know some people, so you're not always alone.
Right.
And one of the couples that we had dinner with, we frequently saw and chatted with at the pool. So it was a lot of fun. And one of the couples went all out on our Halloween night and dressed up as Merida, and then her father, and their costumes were phenomenal. I was shocked.
Some people really get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since this was a Halloween cruise, could you talk about some of the different things that you did for the Halloween portion of it?
So they have the giant pumpkin tree in the lobby instead of a Christmas tree. So we went and saw the pumpkin tree lighting show, which was a lot of fun. And then they had we saw some of the characters in their Halloween costumes, and then they had cabanas. They had some Halloween themed desserts, and then at dinner they brought us out a little spider chocolate cake, which was very cute.
You would have loved that, Christy.
Oh yes, spiders, my favorite.
Nice little chocolate spider melting cake, right?
It would have been so sad that I wouldn't have been able to eat it, probably, because of gluten.
Did they run the show just once? Is that how that works for the lighting of it?
I think so, because I believe they do it in between the shows and dinner, like at 7:30.
Okay.
So you have enough time if you're at the show or if you're at dinner to scoot out and watch the show.
Did you follow the kids around trick-or-treating or meet the characters and whatnot?
We actually didn't do trick-or-treating this time, and I cannot remember why for the life of me. I'm going to say we probably went and did trivia or something and got distracted doing other stuff. And only later in the day we're like, oh, we missed the trick-or-treating. But some of our table mates were nice enough to share some candy, so we got a little bit.
Perfect. Well, so let's talk about some of the other things you did on your TC days before you get down to Bermuda. How'd you guys fill your time? Obviously you went to trivia. Did they kind of Halloween theme that too, or what else did you guys do?
They actually did a villains trivia the one night in O'Gill's, which villains aren't my specialty, but my husband did I'd say a relatively good job with that. That was probably the most, I guess, Halloween type trivia that we did, but it was fun. And then we played some of the other games like the Family Feud. And the first night of the cruise, we went to the adult club and we're on Match Your Mate. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh, you were a contestant?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Part of the reason why I wanted to do a cruise for our honeymoon is they always ask, are there any newlyweds? So we had put our hands up, and there was actually another pair of newlyweds that were having their ceremony on the ship, but They had filled out their paperwork officially, I think a couple days before us. So we were the newlyweds. So we got selected to go up. And then we actually tied with because they usually try and get the youngest or the newest newlyweds and a couple who's been married the longest, and then they'll pick another one randomly for the middle seat. So we tied with them, and then I think they did like a round of applause to see who won officially. So
who won?
We didn't win, unfortunately. But the other ones were a little more humorous and outgoing. So
how was it though? Like, I feel like some of those questions are a bit.
Well, because we were on the fantasy last year, we kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into.
Yeah.
So we had discussed ahead of time before the cruise, okay, if this happens, this is what we're saying, because we're not gonna, like you said, some of it's a little personal, and the last thing you want is someone to start saying something that you really didn't want them to say. So I guess we cheated. We discussed it beforehand. So, but oh well.
I wouldn't call it cheating. I would call it preparing.
Yeah.
You were prepared.
But we had a lot of fun. So
did they give you any prizes for doing it?
Yeah, I think we just got like a Disney Cruise Line hat and like some luggage tags and stuff. Nothing too fancy, but it's all fun. You're not doing it necessarily for the prizes.
I mean, that's still that has value. Blake did the Jack. I don't think we ever talked about this, but the Jack Diaper Dash a couple of times when he was a baby, and he got the Disney bibs. That thing was like $16.
I don't think I saw when I looked in the cruise ship stores the merchandise that we were given, which I guess makes it even more valuable because you can't just buy it.
Right.
But it was a lot of fun. So
there you go. I cherish my winter medal that we got from trivia the last cruise. That's right up there next to my marathon medal. Those are hard to get. So
I know. I was hoping to get one. Didn't quite find it.
Well, we'll have to go to another cruise, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about before we get to Bermuda?
No, I think we got everything covered.
Okay. So had you guys been to Bermuda before?
No, this was our first time to visit Bermuda, so it was a lot of fun.
Christy, have you been there before?
I haven't.
Okay. You get there in the morning, and then the ship stays overnight, and then you're there most of the next day. Can you go on and off the ship the whole time, like in the evening and whatnot?
Yep. They let you come and go as you please, and from what I understood, you didn't necessarily have to report back to the ship for the evening. For the people who were, I guess, adventurous enough and wanted to stay on land, I think they could have done that. So we didn't do that. We went back to the cruise, though.
Okay. And so what were your guys' plans? What did you guys have planned for Bermuda?
So we booked an excursion with the cruise line, and I'm just trying to remember what it's called now. Oh, it was called Hidden Gems Exploration Adventure, and it was a lot of fun. So the first thing that we did was we took a little bus ride around Bermuda, and we did a little hike in to some like underground caves, and we actually got to go swimming. And I don't have the photos on my phone, but my husband has some photos from these underground caves that we went swimming in. They're really beautiful, nice and warm. And they talked about the geology of the stalactites and stalagmites, or whatever they're called. I hate to say, I don't really remember, but they had asked us please not to touch them because it takes years and years for them to develop. So we were respectful of that. And then we went out for lunch, and then we did some snorkeling, and then we had some ice cream on our way back to the ship. The snorkeling, that was all included with our tour, and the ice cream was included as well. The only thing I will say was the water was a little rougher and a little choppier than being on Castaway Cay, so it was a little harder to snorkel, which wasn't as enjoyable, but it's for future reference. I know I'll spend my time snorkeling at Castaway Cay as opposed to necessarily other places. It gets choppy. It's hard to move about.
What time of day was it when you were snorkeling?
It was in the afternoon. It was maybe 2 or 3 o'clock.
So definitely one thing I've noticed for all the years, I don't know, Steve, if you've noticed the same, but obviously if there's a barrier that somebody puts up, then you're going to have calmer water. But otherwise, the water is typically calm or calmer in the morning. And so you might
well,
have,
good to know.
yeah, you might have better luck snorkeling in random Caribbean places. So you don't have to like miss out on that if it's something you like, if you do it in the morning.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Hawaii's definitely like that. The wind tends to pick up as the morning goes along, and then the water gets a little bit choppier and stuff.
Good to know. Swimming is a thing to do in the morning then. Another thing, not far from where outside King's Wharf, they actually had the Bermudan flag, they had the Canadian flag, the American flag, and the British Union Jack, which I thought was pretty cool and nice that they had all the different flags up.
Well, nice day in Bermuda. Then you guys come back to the ship. What did you guys have planned for the next day? Or what did you guys do that evening, and then what did you guys have planned for the next day?
That evening, we had dinner at Animator's Palette. I don't remember what show was in the Fathoms afterwards, but we happened to walk by Fathoms, and they were having the silent DJ disco party, and everyone had their headphones on and were dancing away, and it was quite the funny sight to see.
Did you guys do that?
We tried it another day in the cruise, but the first day I was just enamored by the people dancing around, and it was silent. It was quite hilarious.
So Florian's talked about that, and I know that it was kind of big over in Europe, and now it's kind of coming over here. So he was saying that they give you like a choice of like 5 different songs, so you don't necessarily have to. Everybody doesn't have to be listening to the same song, but they kind of limit it so they're kind of similar. But what was your thoughts of doing that?
It was pretty cool. We didn't stay for too long just because it's a long day, you know. You want to get up early because there's stuff going on in the morning that you want to do, and then you want to stay up late because there's stuff going on in the evening. You kind of burn the candles at both ends.
Right.
So they had the headphones had lights on them, so there was either green headphones, blue headphones, or red headphones that you had a choice of picking, and they had the different music on it. So
would you do it again?
It depends. If I was tired, probably not. If I had energy to burn and I want something to do, yeah, definitely.
Christy, would you do that? I'm kind of curious about it. Not intriguing you? Maybe.
No, it is. It's interesting, and it's the whole rage. So
right.
Gotta try.
Yeah, I feel like I would need a lot of liquid courage
before you got out there.
So then,
busted a move.
Yeah. Yep, sure would. The night after that pub crawl that I did, or our bar crawl on the Ed that we talked about in the previous episode, yeah. I would probably have could have done anything at that point. I would have agreed to anything. So, anyway.
So then the next day was Pirates Night. So before we went back to our cabin after going and seeing people in Fathoms dancing around, I happened to wander up past the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and they had it all decked out with all the pirate stuff for the following day, which was really cool. All the little details that they had put up for that. So if you're not necessarily into the princess thing and you think the pirate thing is cool, I thought the details were well thought out on that. And then the next day we didn't have anything planned, so we had slept in and then wandered around the King's Wharf port. And then we ended up finding a trampoline park. So we went there for an hour and bounced around on the trampolines.
Oh, that's kind of fun. Is the ship parked right downtown, so it's pretty easy to just walk off the ship and then head into the town there?
No, it's not. There's actually, I believe the downtown is Hamilton, Bermuda is the city. And so you're able to catch like a water taxi across the harbor or the bay to Hamilton. But they do have like all the cruise ports do. They have shopping and stores and stuff around. So we just kind of walked around and stayed in that area on the second day.
Okay. And how was the trampoline park? It sounds like you had a good time there. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I haven't been to one since I was a kid, so it was fun to do that and bounce around and get a little energy out and do something different. So,
were you sore the next day?
No, the only thing that I didn't like was all the jumping made me have to go to the bathroom a whole bunch of times. So, and I haven't even had children yet, so I don't want to know what that will hold
or not.
Yeah.
Nice one, Christy. You threw that one in there pretty. So that night's Pirate Night. Are you guys Pirate Night people, or what were your thoughts on Pirate Night?
I like to see. Okay, spoiler alert. If you need to skip ahead your 30 seconds. I like to see the Mickey ziplining in. Mm-hmm. But the whole show is not. It's not my first choice. I'll go watch it, but It's not my favorite thing, but it's fun to participate. All the kids are having a lot of fun. So.
And then they had the fireworks after, right?
Yeah. No, you know what? Actually, we ended up doing the fireworks earlier because it was choppy and windy. So we did the fireworks before dinner, believe it or not.
Huh. Now that would be my kind of firework.
Yeah. Or well, not before your dinner, before my dinner, in between dinner and the second show. But yeah, no. It was good. So.
Yeah. No, that's still perfect time. I could be all about that time.
Our next day was a day at sea, and it was starting because we started heading north. It was starting to get a little cool again, and it was a little choppy. So they had to shut the pools down as the pools started looking like a wave pool instead of regular pool. And then we got to see they had a Broadway guest star who was actually like a member of the crew who was playing Mother Gothel in Rapunzel's show, and she also played Cinderella's stepmother. So we went and saw her show in Fathoms, where she talked about her career and the different things she did, and she played Mary Poppins on Broadway. She
was the same one that was on board the Magic when we were on her in the Mediterranean last summer. So yeah, she was amazing, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm. And such a smooth voice. It was very lovely.
That's neat that they do that. So did you actually go and see the Tangled show then too?
We did go to see the Tangled show, and I happened to be very tired and fell asleep. So after the Frozen show, we had gone up to the Cove Cafe, and I got a coffee, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised to see that they had, in the Cove Cafe in the evenings, they have the antipasto that they serve in Paolo. So for anyone who doesn't necessarily want to go to Paolo, if you want to check out the Cove Cafe and try their antipasto, you can do that.
And there's no additional charge for that, so that's included, which is nice.
So, yeah, if you're not too sure about Paolo, you could always go sample that. If you like that, then maybe you'll have the courage to go do that.
Yeah, it's one of my wife's and I's favorite places. You go to the Cove Cafe, later in the evening when the kids are playing, and have a little bit of the antipasto with a glass of wine. So, just we love that place.
And it's fun to see the map where all the ships are.
Oh, that's right. They've got that on the inside now, don't they? That's kind of neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a quick thing on the weather then. You said it started to get a little choppy. I've heard in the past from people that can be kind of a choppier, as you leave and come back to New York. Do you kind of feel the same thing? And do you do anything for seasickness or anything for people out there that might have problems with motion?
I feel seasick after I get off the cruise for whatever reason. I feel like the world is spinning when I get off the boat. On the boat, I'm okay. My husband gets a little more motion sick on the boat, so he just takes Gravol, which is the Canadian version of Dramamine.
And did that work pretty good for him?
Yeah. So he just takes that, so it all works out good.
So
he's a pharmacist, so if he wanted something more powerful or a different variety, he has all the knowledge about it, so it's up to him to decide what he wants.
So just kind of I don't want to say a word of warning, but that is a cruise that does tend to have a little bit more motion in it, it sounds like, for those of you maybe planning on sailing out of New York and down to Bermuda. Just be wary of that, I guess. Make sure you've got, if you're motion sickness or tend towards that at all, make sure you have something with you.
So the one thing that was nice was because we overnighted and stayed in Bermuda, we did have an extended period of time where we weren't moving. The one thing I hate is when you're leaving port and it's dinner time and it starts to get choppy, even in the Caribbean. I hate feeling all the movement when I'm trying to eat dinner. So I enjoyed having the overnight because we weren't moving for dinner it was only one night. If you had early seating, it would have been 2 nights. But
any thoughts on that, Christy?
I agree.
Okay. And I guess we could probably do a whole show on motion sickness, I suppose. But the one thing that I've learned and have over time is you want to make sure you take that stuff before you start feeling the motion. So while you're in port, make sure you take it then before you actually leave, because it tends to be a little too late if you start feeling sick and then try and take it then.
Yeah. So later that day, we were supposed to go to mixology. My husband wasn't feeling too good that day, so he didn't come to me with me to mixology. Yeah. I went by myself and got double the booze. I didn't drink it all. I drank some of it though. But it was really good. If you like mixed drinks, I really enjoyed it. So I'd say to check it out. And the portions were quite small. So even though I had double the amount, it wasn't anything too crazy. I wasn't gonna fall over with the dizziness or anything. So. Oh, and then another thing that was really neat was the photographer who was working in the black and white studio in Shutters had been on our previous cruise, and we had pictures done, and she was on this one again, so I was very excited about that. Her name is Lee, so if anybody meets Lee from South Africa with red hair, she's really, really nice, and don't be afraid to say hello.
Did you have a portrait session done again on this cruise?
No, not on this cruise, because the last one we had a lot of fun, and it was a little expensive, but we dubbed those our engagement photos. So that was, we spent the money that time. Maybe next time, if we see Lee again, we'll do some more photos, but not this time. And we just spent a lot of money on wedding photos. So
right.
Priorities.
Well, and then you finish up in Palo the last night of the cruise. How was your dinner at Palo?
It was really good. My favorite thing that we had was the butternut squash pasta. The other stuff was good, but that was my favorite. I would go back just to have the pasta, even though, for $30, you'd think you'd want the meat dish, but pasta was amazing. They played Dreams that night as well. Or no, was it Dreams? No, Wishes. The one with the little girl, Marianne, who goes and has to learn how to fly for Peter Pan. So
just kind of a magical way to end it. So you guys go to Palo and see that show. And then do you guys go to the farewell show that they have in the lobby too?
We didn't this trip. I kind of hate going to it because I want to cry, because it just makes me more upset. Like I don't need more reminders that I'm going to leave. It was very nice though, because it was very easy to pack because we didn't have very much luggage.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's probably my favorite thing about traveling light is I didn't spend very much time having to pack on the last day when I don't really want to pack. I want to be doing other things. So
you end up back in New York City. How was disembarkation? Was as easy getting off as it was getting on, other than the fact that none of us want to leave?
Well, actually, it was probably easier to get off than it was to get on, unfortunately. The one thing I was really excited about when we got off the boat was parked right next to us was an AIDA ship, which I was very excited about because I was thinking, I wonder if Florian's working on it. But then I thought to myself, oh no, he said about, staying in or cruising around Europe. So he's probably not on that boat. But I was very excited to see the AIDA ship. So
yeah, they're kind of distinct with that big smile on the front, aren't they?
Yeah, and then but it also had big colored letters on it, so it was kind of hard to miss.
Well, so your cruise comes to end. You guys spend a little bit more time back in New York before you go back to Toronto. Did you guys book another cruise on the ship, or what do you guys have planned in the future, Courtney?
We didn't book a cruise. We booked a placeholder, which we haven't figured out what we want to do with it yet. We're hoping to actually, in 2020, my husband, like I had said before, is a big Star Trek nerd. So they have a Star Trek themed cruise that I think this coming year it's going to be on Royal Caribbean. So we're hoping to... We also put money down to do that, so we just have to figure out where we're gonna put another Disney cruise in between that one and this past one. So
that sounds fun.
Christy, do you have anything before we wrap it up here?
I don't. Thanks for coming on, and I enjoyed following your pictures on Instagram. Is your post public, or is your Instagram public?
It's not public, but if people are interested in looking at some of my photos, search me up under Courtney Praterlon or Courtney Luloff, Luloff, and I can definitely accept your request. And we can and you can look at some of the photos from our cruise.
Well, thank you so much for doing that, Courtney. Thank you for being an awesome listener to our show. Thank you for the second time coming on. It was I know we kind of got stretched out getting you back on to talk about your cruise, and I really appreciate that. And when you guys book your next cruise, let us know where you're headed and come back on and tell us about it.
Definitely. Thanks, Steve and Chrissy.
Thanks, Courtney.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, and we should just say it. Congratulations once again on your marriage, and just all the best in the years ahead.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Courtney for coming on and sharing her and her husband's experience as they honeymooned out in New York City and then sailed down to Bermuda on the beautiful Disney Magic. What just an amazing cruise and time for them. And once again, we'd like Christy and I and all of us here at the DCL Podcast want to wish them the best as they begin their journey together in life. So just an exciting time for them. we really enjoy bringing your guys' experiences onto the show. That helps all of us learn from your experiences and kind of relive the magic of your cruises and adventures with Adventures by Disney. So, and one of the things that we're going to try and streamline is how to contact Christy and I. We're always on Facebook and Twitter, but the best way to get a hold of us, and we're just going to streamline it this way, is I've set up an email account now for the show. You can reach me at steve@dclpodcast.com, and I'll put this in the show notes. And for Christy, you can reach out to her at christy@packyourpixiedust.com. Of course, you can always find more information about her travel services at packyourpixiedust.com as well. We throw it out there every now and then. If you can go onto iTunes and leave us a review, that helps us get the show known. Also, pass it on to anybody you know who likes Disney Cruise Line and just cruising in general. And I want to give a shout out to two of our latest iTunes reviews. One from DisneyFan92, such an enjoyable show. They write, always love hearing about a variety of guests' experiences on Disney Cruise Line. Steve and Christy are dynamic hosts. Thank you so much for saying that. Who bring a great energy to the show. I always learn something new whenever I listen to an episode. Keep up the wonderful work. And also from STL, I'm going to guess that's St. Louis Transplant. Our family loves DCL vacations, so do we. Dee Dee and I enjoy listening to Steve and Christy when we are driving and dreaming of our next trip. That's what this show is all about, is kind of dreaming of that next trip, reliving that last one. So if you have time to, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, but if you have time to go over there and leave us an iTunes review, we sure do appreciate it. That helps us, once again, get the show known out in the Disney Cruise Line and the cruising community. So between now and our next show, if you are heading out on your next adventure, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travel as you head out on that next trip. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.